The envelope felt heavy in my hands, far heavier than a simple bank statement should. My name was printed clearly on the front, but the numbers inside felt like they belonged to someone else's life. I remember sitting at the kitchen table, the morning sun streaming in, thinking how quiet the house had become. This money was supposed to fill that silence. It was supposed to secure our future, to be a blessing. But as I stared at the paper, a cold certainty settled in my stomach. This fortune hadn't brought us together. It had given my daughter the reason she needed to tear us apart. For most of my life, things were simple. I was a widow, and my world revolved around my daughter, Clara. We lived in the same comfortable, slightly worn-in house where she'd grown up. I worked as a bookkeeper for a small local firm, and every penny was accounted for. We weren't poor, but we were careful. I'd saved for her college, scrimped for holidays, and found joy in the rhythm of our ordinary days. Clara was my pride, a bright, ambitious girl with a good heart. Or so I believed. When she was accepted into a prestigious business school, I took out a second mortgage on the house to pay for it. It never felt like a sacrifice. It felt like an investment in her future. The change didn't happen overnight. It crept in slowly. After graduation, she moved back home for a while, but her conversations were filled with names of luxury brands and resorts I'd only ever seen in magazines. She'd glance around our living room and sigh, making little comments about updating the dated decor. There was a new impatience in her, a restlessness our simple life couldn't contain. I told myself it was just her age, her ambition. I was so proud of her drive that I failed to see the greed it was turning into. Then the inheritance came. An aunt I was close to passed away, leaving me a sum of money that felt astronomical, life-changing. For the first time, I felt secure. I paid off both mortgages and put the rest away, dreaming of a quiet retirement, maybe even helping Clara buy her first home. I thought that money would ease the tension in her. I was wrong. It only gave her a target. The idea came over a cup of tea. Clara had been especially sweet that week, calling every day, asking about my health. "Mom," she said gently, "with all this money, you must be so worried about managing it. There are so many scams targeting people your age." She reached across the table and held my hand. "Let me help you. I have my MBA. I know finance. We should set up a joint account for the bulk of it. It's safer that way. I can help with the investments, pay your bills. It'll give you peace of mind. And it'll make me feel better knowing you're protected." It sounded so logical, so loving. The lie wasn't loud. It was quiet, poisonous, wrapped in the language of care and duty. She wasn't stealing from me. She was protecting me. I felt a flicker of unease, a mother's instinct, but I smothered it with trust. I looked into my daughter's eyes and saw only concern. And so I agreed. That was the moment the lock turned. At first, everything seemed fine. Clara was attentive, showing me neat bank statements that looked healthy. Then small things began to change. When I wanted to withdraw a little money to finally take the trip to Scotland I'd always dreamed of, she grew tense. "The market's down right now, Mom," she said, her tone suddenly sharp, professional. "It's a terrible time for a large, frivolous expense. Let's wait." The word frivolous stung. My lifelong dream reduced to something silly. I started noticing new things in her life. A luxury handbag, a spa trip she posted online. When I asked about it, she laughed. "A bonus from work, Mom. Don't worry." Then the invoices started coming. A bill for a storage unit I didn't own. a credit card statement in my name. My heart pounded every time I opened another envelope. When I confronted Clara, she'd look wounded. "Oh, Mom, that's for storing your important documents. I told you about it. And the credit card? It's for your protection, to build your credit. You must have forgotten." Then she began to speak to me slowly, as if I were a child. "Your memory. You've been so scattered lately." She started telling friends and relatives that I was getting confused, that she was having to take over. I felt the walls closing in. The house I owned outright no longer felt like my sanctuary. It felt like a gilded cage, and my daughter was locking the door from the outside. The loneliness was crushing. I'd sit at that same kitchen table where we'd shared so many meals and feel only emptiness. The fortune sat untouched in the bank, and I was eating canned soup, too afraid to spend my own money. The turning point came on a Tuesday. I was looking for an old photo album in the closet when I knocked over a box of Clara's old things. As I gathered the papers, a small black notebook I'd never seen before fell out. My name was on the cover. With trembling hands, I opened it. It was a ledger, but not a financial one. It was an accounting of me. Pages of notes listed my assets, the house, the inheritance, my pension, each with values beside them. And then my blood ran cold. In her neat handwriting was a timeline. Phase 1, joint account, complete. Phase 2, establish memory concerns, in progress. Phase 3, power of attorney, target 6 months. Final phase, managed care facility, liquidate estate. It was all there. Not a moment of impulse, but a carefully planned campaign. She wasn't just taking my money, she was planning to take my entire life. I sank to the floor, the notebook burning in my hands. The love I thought was protecting me was a spreadsheet. The concern was a strategy. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. A strange calm came over me. This wasn't about heartbreak anymore. It was about survival. I put the notebook back exactly where I'd found it and went on pretending to be the confused, trusting mother. But inside, something in me woke up. My first stop was David, an old friend and retired lawyer I'd known for 40 years. I sat in his quiet, book-lined study, laid everything out, and my hands didn't shake once. He listened, his face growing grim. "We need to be smart and quiet," he said. Together, we built a plan. I began quietly collecting documents, the deed to my house, the inheritance papers, old bank statements from before the joint account. I opened a new private bank account that Clara didn't know about. I changed every password, and I started a journal, recording every conversation, every suspicious charge, with dates and details, to prove my sound mind. It was slow, careful work. I felt like a secret agent in my own life. The heartbreak was still there, but now it sat under a layer of calm determination. The confrontation came on her terms. She arrived one afternoon, holding a folder and wearing that same concerned smile. "Mom, I've been so worried. I spoke to a doctor, and we both think it's time we make things official. I've brought the power of attorney papers. It's for the best. You'll be less stressed." She slid the folder across the table. I looked at it, then at her. The silence stretched. "No, Clara," I said softly but firmly. Her smile faltered. "Mom, don't be difficult. You know you've been forgetting things." "I haven't forgotten a thing," I said. I reached into my bag and pulled out a single sheet of paper, a copy of the page from her notebook. "I believe this is your plan." The color drained from her face. She stared at the paper, then at me, her composure falling apart. That's not, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. The joint account is closed. The money's been moved. My attorney, David, is handling the rest. You'll sign whatever he sends to remove your name from all my assets. And then you'll leave this house. The shock in her eyes said everything. She hadn't expected a fight. She expected surrender. She left that day, and the silence that followed was different. It wasn't lonely anymore. It was peaceful. It was mine again. There was no shouting, no dramatic disowning, just a firm, unbreakable boundary. Through David, I made sure every financial tie was cut cleanly. Some relatives took sides, but I found a strength I never knew I had. I didn't cut her out of my will entirely. That would have been like her. A small amount remains, not out of hope, but as acknowledgement of the daughter I once knew. The rest will go to charities that protect the elderly from financial exploitation. I've learned that money doesn't change people. It reveals who they are. And sometimes the hardest goodbyes aren't shouted. They're whispered behind a wall of quiet, unshakable resolve. If this real-life story touched you, share your thoughts in the comments below. For more calm, emotional stories about family, love, and life's difficult lessons, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.